Hey everyone, welcome to Meeple Bits. Thanks for joining me. Today, as the leader of a merchant guild, you invest in mines, send your ships to new worlds, and recruit the most renowned artisans. Build a commercial empire, and receive the visit of wise minarchs, patrons with infinite resources to acquire glory and prestige. Today we're going to play Splendor, a game designed by Marc Andre, published by Space Cowboys for 2 to 4 players with a playtime of roughly 30 minutes. So join me as we go through a quick setup and playthrough of the game Splendor. Hey everybody, welcome back to a setup and playthrough of Splendor. I'm going to set this game up for 3 players in just a moment, but I wanted to kind of lay out what a general setup might look like for all player types. So when setting up the game, and let me go through the components really quickly, we're looking at development cards represented in 3 different tiers, 1, 2, and 3. A pool from drafting or purchasing development cards from. The different types of gems, and then the nobles in the top row. So different development cards that are going to come out, you'll find here, and I'll go through in just a moment. The different gems to purchase the development cards are Emerald, Sapphire, Ruby, Diamond, Onyx, and Gold. Gold acts as a wild card, or an any gem type. So as I mentioned, we're going to set up for 3 players in just a moment, but when setting up a game, what you're going to do is set up the decks for tiers 1, 2, and 3, and then deal out 4 cards of each of the tiers, like we've done here. For the nobles, you're going to want to draw out as many nobles as there are players plus 1. So example, in a 4-player game, there would be 5 tiles out, but here in this 3-player game, we're only going to draw out 4 nobles. In addition, there's a slight variant that you're going to want to do for the setup of a 3-player game as well as a 2-player game. In a 2-player game, you need to remove gems from the board, totaling 4. Remove 3 gems in a 2-player game, and remove 2 gems of each color in a 3-player game. So let's go ahead and remove those 2 gems now. So in a 3-player game, we're not going to use every gem available to us. The gold gems will remain as is. So the gold gems, leave them in all player types, or all player counts. And that's what an initial setup for a 3-player game would look like. If we were playing with 4 players, then we would keep all the gems in and draft out 1 additional noble tile. So let's go over what the cards look like, what they are, and how to obtain them. So the different card types that are out there represent also the different types of gems that are available. We've got Ruby. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the different type of gem this is. When drafting this, this becomes a permanent resource in your city. We've got diamonds, emeralds, sapphires, emeralds, onyx, etc. So 1 of each type. On each of the cards, there represents also sometimes, not always, as you can see, a number in the upper left-hand corner. This upper left-hand corner number represents the victory points that this card is worth. The numbers down the side represent its cost to purchase. So in this particular instance, this card cost 3 diamond, 3 emerald, 3 rubies, and 5 onyx to purchase. So I would need to acquire all of those resources in order to purchase this one. This one, for example, takes, let's see, can I get a focus? There we go. 3 diamond, 6 sapphire, and 3 emerald. It then gives me a permanent emerald, and it's worth 4 victory points. The nobles. We've got them up top, and the nobles that we've dealt out are worth 3 victory points each, as are all the remaining nobles that didn't make it into this particular play. The nobles also have a cost, in essence. So this noble, for example, would take 3 blacks, 3 reds, and three whites. The way you obtain a noble is to have those exact or those number of gems in your development or your civilization. So as you buy these cards, you cannot purchase nobles, you must court nobles. Nobles are courted in such a way that once you've drafted the requirement, then you are able to immediately take a noble into your development. So for the top left noble here, he requires 4 and 4, 4 blue and 4 green. So the first player that reaches 4 blue and 4 green in their total development is then able to take that noble. No new nobles are drawn throughout the game, so there's a finite number. You may have more than one noble as well. Sorry, correction. Each player may only have one noble to visit them. Sorry. So you can have, and you cannot refuse a noble's, quote, visit. So once you achieve, say, 4 blue and 4 green, that noble will come to visit you. If you were trying to block another player and obtain, say, the third noble, which is 4 red and 4 green. So let's say you amassed 4 green, and then you had 3 reds, and then you got a blue before you got that 4th red. You would automatically take that first noble that's represented here. So that's the initial setup, guys. You're going to deal out the 3 different decks, 1, 2, and 3 tiers, deal out 4 cards of each of them, add nobles, 1 greater than the number of players, and then in a 4-player game, keep all gems. In a 3-player game, remove 2 of all the gem colors except gold, and in a 2-player game, remove 3 gems except gold. So that's set up. What does a playthrough look like? What do you do on your turns? So how the game is played is, on your turn, a player is able to choose one of 4 actions. Action 1, take 3 gems of different colors. So I can take 1, 1, and 1, or any variation thereof. Take 2 gems of the same color. That's only possible if there's at least 4 tokens available in that color before the player takes those 2, meaning we've only got 5 in each of them. So if player 1, for example, were to take 3 gems, then on the next turn, only one person could take then 2 of any one color because there's the minimum of 4 left available. But let's say there was only 3 gems here. A player could not take 2 of one color because there are not 4 or greater gems available to take. You can reserve a development card and take a gold into your hand. So you could look at the sea here and look at what's out there and what's available and say, okay, I want to take this one into my reserve and then take a gold as a token. So to reserve that card, you take anything from there, or you can take one of the face down cards that are available in tiers 1, 2, and 3. So you can either take one that's available, or if you're feeling lucky, grab anything from the top of the decks. When reserving cards, if you take it from the deck, you don't have to reveal it to any of the other players. And all players may only have a maximum of 3 reserved development cards at any time. The only way to get rid of development cards are to build them or to construct them. So if you've reserved a card, at some point you're going to need to build it. If you've got 3 total, you cannot take another reserve card until you've depleted at least 1 in your reserve. And the only way that you obtain the gold coins or the gold gems is by reserving a card. If there are no gold left, you may still reserve a card, but you will not get any gold for that action. And then the last action to take is purchasing or developing one of these face-up cards. So you can purchase a face-up development card from the middle of the table and buy it or build it immediately, or from a previously reserved one. So if you've already got reserve, for an action on your next turn, you can build that. So again, the 4 different types of action that you can take are take 3 gems of a different color, take 2 gems of the same color, reserve a development card and take a gold, which acts as a wild, so when you're purchasing in the future, a gold acts as any color you need it to be, or purchase a development card that's face up or in your reserve. And then the last thing to note is that a player may not have more than 10 gems in their hand at the end of their turn. So if you've drawn up gems at your turn and you have 11, you must discard at least one. The game will play, each player taking one turn, until the first player that reaches 15 prestige points, which include any purchased developments, as well as any nobles that you've courted, so the nobles up top. So any nobles that you've courted equals 15 or greater. So then you're going to complete the current round so that each player has played the same number of turns. So if the first player is the one that reaches 15 first, then the other players will get one final run to create any additional victory points. If the last player is the first one to reach 15 prestige points, then the game is over. In the case of a tie, the person that has the fewest total development cards, so they amass the most victory points while developing the least amount of gems, would be then the tiebreak winner. And then lastly, as players continue to draw, reserve, and develop cards from the middle, you're always going to draw up and replace them. So that's it, guys. That's the setup and dive in of Splendor. So stay tuned. I've got to adjust the camera just for a moment, and then let's take a couple of turns of Splendor to give you an idea of how it's played. Okay, guys. Let's dive into a few turns of Splendor so that you can see how it gets played. So during this quick playthrough, I'm going to use this kind of white space over here as best as I can for putting up the development cards that are purchased, just so that you can, I guess, get a general sense and feel of what's going on. There's going to be a few things off camera. Sorry, guys, working on it. Appreciate the support, though, all the same. All right, so the rulebook says the youngest player goes first. I and our crew like to use this app called Schwazi to figure out who goes first, but for all my demos, I'm always going to be first player. So I, as first player, am going to look around and say, okay, what do I want to go for? How do I want to kind of achieve maybe acquiring some of the nobles from up top? And I like to first look at any shared resources to make my life a little bit easier. And I see 2 of them require green, 2 of them require red, and 2 of them require blue. So I'm going to be able to either go for one of those 3 colors to begin the game, because that looks like a pretty okay strategy for me. So looking at that, I'm going to say, all right, you know what, I don't want to grab anything just yet, so I do want, though, to get some green. And this one takes 3 red. But taking 2 red right off the bat might tip my hand a little too much. So for my first turn, I'm going to grab one of each. So I want to try to purchase that card, so I'm going to get a red, I'm going to get a blue, and then, let's see, I probably want to try to buy this one as well, so I'm going to grab a white. I'm going to bring those into my hand. I'm going to put my hand over here. So then player 2 is going to go. Player 2 is looking around the board, and they're going to say, you know what, that brown looks pretty good. I'm going to try to fast track myself to it. So they're going to grab 2 green to try to get there sooner. And their hand's going to be over there somewhere. Now it's player 3's turn. Player 3, kind of looking at what we all have done, is going to play it a little bit safer. So they're going to look around and they're going to try to go long early. And by that I mean they're going to try for some quick victory points. So they're going to grab this card and then set it off as reserve and take 1 gold along with it. I really like those poker chip sounds. So once we've drawn a card, it immediately gets replaced. Okay, back to player 1. Player 1 has 3 gems, and your gems must remain in view at all times. So again, I'm trying to get this one first, so you know what? I'm going to grab 2 red. Can I grab 2 red? Yes, I can. There are exactly 4, so I'm going to grab 2 red. Put those into my hand. Player 2 sees what I've just done, and they're saying, oh, okay, great. Now I see what they're trying to go for, but they've taken a different strategy anyway. Player 2 is going to go ahead and complete their task of trying for this one. So they're going to grab 1 green, because that's going to get them where they need to go. But then they're going to plan for their next turn, and they're going to try to get this white one, let's say. Well, no, brown and red go together, so they might want to start stocking up on some of these down here. But let's go ahead and go for this anyway. So let's grab 1 blue and 1 black. Okay. And then player 3's turn. So, as we know, player 3 has sat on one of their cards, but they need to get some additional things to start developing it. I forget actually what what I drew for them. 6 blue. Okay. Now, they can't, unfortunately, take 2 blues because there's only 3 available. So they'll take 1 of each. And red is starting to get in short supply. So they're going to grab one of those and then grab a black just to kind of flesh out their turn. Okay, back to player 1. So player 1 now has enough rubies to purchase or buy this one. So they're going to buy it and then put it into their hand. Face up like so. They're going to pay its cost back to the pool. Now, player 1 permanently has 1 green available to them. Oh, got to draw this out. So on subsequent turns, that acts as a permanent resource for player 1. So they're going to be able to say, buy this one for 3 blue and 1 white, and not need to pay its 1 emerald cost because they are always producing 1 emerald. Okay, player 2's turn. They're going for this one, and they do have enough to buy it, so they're going to spend their 3 emeralds to the main supply, and then build this. And much like first player, they're going to put it into their hand face up, like so. Drawing out then another card. And then player 3. Player 3 really needs to still stock up on some blues to build out that long shot that they were going for. And right now they have 1 blue and they need 6 total. So it's going to be pretty tough to go for. In an actual game, they probably wouldn't have gone so aggressively so soon. But they're going to go ahead and take one of these lower cards to try to build up a permanent blue into their hand and take a gold. Drawing up the card again. And now back to player 1. Okay, player 1 has 1 blue, 1 white, and 1 green. Is there anything that I can buy for 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green? No, there is not. But I see that another emerald could come available to me pretty quickly. On top of maybe I need to get some browns into my hand, some onyxes, I guess. They look like chocolate bars to me. So I'm going to take, player 1's going to take 1 blue, I'm going to take 1 red, and then 1 white. And that's my turn. And then player 2 and player 3 will continue, but you guys get the general idea. So you're going to continue to play until the first player reaches 15 total prestige points and the game ends. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick setup and playthrough of Splendor. So stay tuned for my afterthoughts, and I'll clean up the table and we'll dive right into that in just a moment. Thanks again. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for that setup and playthrough of Splendor. I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, my take on Splendor, interestingly, I guess let me give you a little backstory of this one. I know it's an older game, I think published in 2013 maybe, 2014 I think. I was at my local game store and I was in there completely buying something else, I forget exactly what. And I guess a woman next to me sees me picking up whatever game that I was buying at the time, and she goes, "Oh, have you heard of this game Splendor?" And I'm like, "Well, no." She goes, "It's an absolutely great game. You should pick it up." And so without knowing anything about the game, just this random person coming up to me and saying that I should probably buy this game, well, I went ahead and bought it. Finally got it to the table sometime shortly thereafter, and I gotta say I was really impressed. More so because it was so simple to just get in and understand. And that's really what I enjoyed about Splendor, and everyone that I've introduced it to, and all the game nights that we've had where we've been able to get this one to the table, is that in its simplicity, there's also a resounding amount of strategy involved, which is a lot of fun. So what really appeals to me about this game, you know, as I've kind of harped on now for a moment, is how easy it is to get into, how easy it is to explain and pick up and understand, and then just keep playing again and again. It's got a really short play time of 30 minutes, I guess, if it's your first time, and you can probably do it in about 20 minutes or so if you're playing with people who already know what's going on. So what I really also like about the game are its internal components. The cards have got a great linen finish on them, which I'm always a fan of. The gems are these heavyweight kind of poker chip style, which are a lot of fun and they got great weight to them, and I really enjoy that. And then the box insert itself is well thought out. And that's important to me as someone who has purchased, third-party inserts before. This one really takes the time to have the right divots for pulling out the cards, has the right size divots for the different gems, so it's really well done in that respect. What would I change? What do I like? Not a whole lot, to be honest. This is definitely a game that you should probably add to your collection. There aren't too many negative things that come to mind as I make this video. And as you know, probably from some of my other ones, a lot of my afterthoughts here are pretty ad hoc. I play through the games relatively recently and then try to give an impression. And Splendor, each time we play through it, there's not a whole lot that I don't enjoy. I guess the one downside is, if someone's hoarding a color gem that you need, well, yeah, I guess you could get elbowed out of your strategy, but that's also part of the strategy of the game, which I enjoy. Anyway, guys, a reason why you should definitely buy Splendor is if you like simple, easy to jump into games that you can get to the table with your friends pretty easily. A reason why you may not want to buy Splendor is, I don't know, maybe it's just too simple and that's not your style. But otherwise, guys, this is a game that I would definitely recommend that you add to the collection if you haven't already. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, leave a like or subscribe. I definitely value your support in what I'm trying to do here with Meeple Bits. And I guess until next time, guys, thanks for watching.